Hollywood and the music industry joined forces to raise money for victims. $100 million was donated. Maybe you even gave to this cause. So 6 months later, how is that money being used?
America, we just uncovered one of the biggest charity scams in recent memory. The fireaid benefit concert raised $100 million to help victims of the LA fires. But months later, fire victims were asking a simple question: where's the money? It turns out the Anna Berg Foundation that controls the funds only distributed $3.2 million to actual fire relief. But here's the kicker: they funneled $159 million to other nonprofits owned by the same person who runs the foundation. This is elite grifting at its finest.
All direct donations will be distributed under the advisement of the Annenberg Foundation. According to the IRS 990 form, the Annenberg Foundation is a 501c3 based in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, in this lovely office.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly illustrates everything that I've been telling you about the nonprofit industrial complex. It is a massive scam designed to make college-educated elites rich, while the people who actually need help get nothing. Let me break down this absolutely insane story. After the devastating Palisades and Eaton fires, Hollywood raised $100 million. Fire victims like Mark Jones, who lost everything, were featured in testimonial videos during the concert.
I'm basically starting at zero. I wish it was just a terrible dream, a nightmare, but this is real.
So Mark Jones tells his heartbreaking story to millions of viewers, helps raise $100 million, and then what happens? Absolutely nothing. He's been trying to figure out how to get help ever since, and nobody will give him a straight answer.
And Mark Jones, he's here now on set to share his story. The fireaid concert happens.
And I was actually expecting to some type of reach out or something to let us know that we're here to help you. And I've been searching and trying to figure that out since.
Meanwhile, the Annenberg Foundation, the group that controls all this money, brags on their websites that they've been distributing a whopping $3.175 million to fire relief victims out of the $100 million that was raised. That's barely 3% of the money actually going to help the fire victims.
Since the fires began on January 7th, the Annenberg Foundation, led by Chair Wallace Annenberg and its directors, with the foundation's community grant-making team, has committed and begun to pay, $3.175 million to more than 50 nonprofit community partners.
So you're gonna ask me, where did the money go? This is where it gets absolutely criminal. The Annenberg Foundation, run by Wallace Annenberg, took that $100 million and funneled $159 million, yes, you heard that right, to another nonprofit that Wallace Annenberg also owns and operates.
Almost 2 weeks later, a woman got back to me and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry for the delay. The person you need to speak to is Chris Wallace. He's a media spokesperson for wildfire funds." So I contacted Chris and I said, you know, victims want to know when they can get their money. Seems like a very simple question. He said, basically they don't. All this money are going to nonprofits, and then nonprofits will take care of making sure the money's distributed.
Let me show you how this scam works. In 2023, the Annenberg Foundation gave 4 grants totaling $1.9 million to Wallace Annenberg Legacy Foundation, then gave another $150 million grant to the same foundation, and another $1.1 million plus an additional $4.1 million that wasn't even listed on their main filings.
When you go through, I would urge everyone to just go to the nonprofits that are listed if you want a good laugh. I mean, one of the nonprofits cleans preschool bathrooms. Well, after the fire, who knows? Maybe there is a preschool bathroom that needs cleaning.
Yeah.
This is the nonprofit equivalent of money laundering. You raise money for fire victims, then you funnel it into your own other organizations. And then suddenly you're rich while fire victims get nothing. But wait, it gets worse. While fire victims are living in their cars, executives of the Annenberg Foundation are getting paid like a Fortune 500 CEOs. The top dog, Cynthia Cannard, makes $735,000 a year, plus a $135,000 bonus. That's nearly $900,000 a year to run a charity. The second in command, Allison Holmes, gets paid $359,000 plus a $90,000 bonus. The treasurer gets $333K a year. And get this, they spent $1.2 million on travel conferences and meetings in 2023. They gave the Philadelphia Orchestra $2.7 million while fire victims got crumbs.
What they do is, on paper, it's legal, often because they'll take the money, but then they just run these bloated, fat administrative functions, executives taking huge salaries, as she mentioned, and like so much stuff for expense reimbursement and all that administrative stuff. And then the actual percentage of the donations that they raise that go to the actual cause is sometimes less than 10%. And that is shameful.
Compare this to the Doctors Without Borders, which spends 90% of their money on actual programs and less than 1% on administration costs. The Annenberg Foundation spends only 33% on actual charity work and the rest on executive compensation and administrative costs. When fire victims and journalists try to get answers about where the money's going, they get the classic nonprofit runaround. People are referring to mysterious extension numbers, promised callbacks that never came, and told to contact a guy named Philip with no last name who can never be found. Meanwhile, Mark Jones, the guy who was featured in the promotional video, is still trying to figure out how to get help. He finally got in touch with somebody, and they told him that fireaid does not have the capability to make direct payments to individuals, and that was never the plan.
As a newly formed 501c3, fireaid does not have the capability to make direct payments to individuals, and that was never the plan. To deliver aid into the community, we partnered directly with trusted local nonprofits.
So let me get this straight. They pay their CEO nearly $1 million a year. They give $2.7 million to an orchestra, but they can't help a fire victim whose stories they use to raise money in the first place. The fireaid scam is just the latest example of a much bigger problem in California. Remember, this is the same state that spent $24 billion on homelessness and somehow made the problem worse. Where did the money go? Oh yeah, that's right. The same nonprofit grifters who are now stealing fire relief money.
California's response to the homeless crisis. The state auditor says the state has spent $20 billion in 5 years, but can't meaningfully track the spending or measure results.
This is what happens when you have elite overproduction, a bunch of college graduates with fancy degrees who can't find real jobs. So they create these nonprofit scams to get rich off of other people's misery. They did the hard work of getting educated, so they think that they deserve to be rich, even if it means stealing from fire victims.
This fireaid money is not helping the people. It's helping nonprofits, many of them who have executives that are getting a six-figure salary. The money is not going to the victims that you wanted the money to go to.
America, this fireaid scandal perfectly illustrates everything wrong with the nonprofit industrial complex. We have fire victims like Mark Jones, who lost everything, featured in a promotional video to tug at heartstrings and raise money. Then that money disappears into a black hole of administrative costs, executive compensation, and grants to other organizations owned by the same people. $100 million gets raised, $3.2 million actually goes to fire relief, and $159 million gets funneled to the foundation owner's other nonprofits. Meanwhile, the CEO is making nearly $1 million a year while fire victims are starting from zero. This isn't charity, it's organized theft. And it's happening all across California with homeless funding, education funding, and now fire relief funding. These nonprofit grifters have figured out how they can get rich by exploiting people's generosity and good intentions. The solution is simple. Prosecute these people for fraud. When you raise money for fire victims and then funnel it into your own other organizations while paying yourself $1 million salary, that is stealing, and people should go to jail for it. Mark Jones and thousands of other fire victims deserve better than this. They deserve to have the money that was raised in their name actually go to helping them rebuild their lives, not funding some nonprofit executive's luxury lifestyle. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.